We need to get started here because we have a 35-minute presentation. We want to be able to have some time for questions and answers afterwards. So I don't see any guests other than our speakers, and they'll be introduced shortly. Is there any business that we have to do today? Hearing none. What is it?
No business. I'm just waiting for the next item.
Oh, the next item. So we have a jokester. So Mr. Wig.
Okay, so unlike this young gathering here, Bill retired, and one of the first things he noticed when he had time on his hands was that his wife had become very hard of hearing. And he didn't want to insult her in any way, so he went to the doctor and said, "Doc, how do I handle this delicate situation?" And the doctor said, "Well, first we have to determine the extent of her hearing loss. So go home and stand 50 feet from her. Ask her a question. If there's no response, move to 40, then 30, 20, 10, and if she still doesn't respond at 10 feet, go right in back of her and ask the question." So went home. My wife was in the kitchen, and he went to the far, far end of the house and said, "Honey, what's for dinner?" Nothing. 10 feet closer. "Honey, what's for dinner?" Silence. 30 feet, 20 feet. At 10 feet, he was on the threshold of the kitchen. Still no response. So he went right behind her. "Honey, what's for dinner?" And she whirled around and glared at him. "For the 6th time, it's chicken."
Oh yeah, it's hard to top that one. Okay, and as the featured speakers today, we always have our game of chance. So, game of skill. I'm sorry, it's a game of skill. And so we have 2 tickets in here. Now, what happens is you put $1 and you get a ticket. So one of you have to pick one of these. It is 219. All right. We have a winner. And what would you like to do with the proceeds of your winnings today?
Well, since I'm so heavy to carry around, I think I should just give it to the organization.
Our scholarship fund. Okay, very good. Thank you. So what I will do is now we've got 3 designers from my office. We need more females in here. Usually we have a couple, but today we had to import them. I will turn this over to and let them take it from here.
Thank you for having us here today, and we want to thank Bill for inviting us to present our project to you. I'm going to introduce the 3 of us, and to my right is Sarah Belzak. She's the interior designer on the project that we're going to be presenting. Celeste Matsukawa, she's the creator of this presentation that you're about to see. And I'm Terry Papin, and I was also on the project team. So for those of you who are not familiar with the Windward Community College campus, it's located on a beautiful and tranquil site in Kaneohe. The Kola Mountain serves as a backdrop, and from the upper campus you can actually see you have ocean views and a view to Kaneohe Bay. With the guidance from Nancy Hugh, the head librarian, we based our design on the Commons 2.0 concept, which is a natural extension of the library's traditional mission, but it brings it forward into a wired technical world. Commons 2.0 and 21st century education support a concept called constructivist learning. Constructivist learning says real understanding and knowledge occurs through personal experience and reflection rather than passively through a classroom lecture. No more lecturer, the sage on stage, and emphasizes co-learning and co-construction of knowledge. The Learning Commons support 21st century education taking place to the WCC campus. Commons 2.0 has 5 guiding principles that we follow throughout the design of the Library Learning Resource Commons, or also known as the LLRC. It must be open, free, comfortable, inspiring, and practical. That was our primary roadmap. Our big picture bottom line takeaway from understanding the Commons 2.0 is that it supports 21st century education and inspires students to a higher level of accomplishment. And this is critical to their future. University libraries are a critical component to supporting 21st century education and must be flexible and adaptable in meeting the current and future needs of the community of learners. So what we'll present today is a visual map of our design journey in creating the LLRC for the Windward Community College. The first part is what not to do. The second is all about what education in the 21st century is. Using images and narration, the third section will show you why and how we made the decisions we did. And the last section shows a vision of the future that illustrates why we must create centers of learning that are adaptable and inevitable for the changes to come. We hope you enjoy it.
In 1930, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, in an effort to alleviate the effects of the, anyone? The Great Depression, passed the, anyone? A tariff bill, the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which, anyone, raised or lowered? Raised tariffs in an effort to collect more revenue for the federal government. Did it work? Anyone? Anyone know the effects? It did not work, and the United States sank deeper into the Great Depression. Today, we have a similar debate over this. Anyone know what this is, class? Anyone? Anyone seen this before? The Laffer curve. Anyone know what this says? It says that at this point on the revenue curve, you will get exactly the same amount of revenue as at this point. This is very controversial. Does anyone know what Vice President Bush called this in 1980? Anyone? Something DOO economics. Voodoo economics.
The campus is very open with large green spaces and lush landscaping. This is not an urban campus and is very different from the UH Manoa campus. Our final configuration brings student circulation through our site, and the LLRC has really become the center of campus. Build it and they will come, and that is exactly what has occurred. The LLRC has become the student front door and crossroads to the campus.
Site conditions were ideal to implement sustainable site strategies that minimize its impact on the existing ecosystem. Windward campus is naturally a lush open space surrounded by large canopy trees and native Hawaiian adaptive plants that require less maintenance and less fertilizer. To preserve campus grounds, we minimized the amount of site disturbance and grading. The building footprint was located on previously developed land and built around the existing large canopy trees. Over 50% of the project site is dedicated to open space. The natural sloping terrain allowed a majority of the building's mass to be tucked away into the hillside so that it sits harmoniously between the trees and its neighboring buildings. On-site stormwater infiltration was achieved through the use of a detention pond, grass pavers, and vegetated swales. A detention chamber under the new student parking lot can detain 14,000 cubic feet of water. A second detention pond holds up to 35,000 cubic feet in case of an extreme storm.
One of our strategies used throughout the design process was incorporating biophilic design principles. The biophilic hypothesis suggests that there is an instinctive bond between human beings and other living systems, and that the built environment can be designed to help people feel and perform better through a closer connection with the natural world. In biophilic practice, a well-designed space will always include experiences of prospect and of refuge. Experiences of prospect allow one the ability to look out from a high vantage point over unobstructed space. Areas of refuge provide the experience of comfort and protection in smaller enclosed spaces. Creating a soaring atrium with a 3-story window wall allowed natural light to flood the interior. It also, very happily, provided stunning views of the Ko'olau Mountains. It provides the visual identity and unifying element between the 3 levels. Open balcony railings allow the natural light to penetrate the main and upper levels. The open stairway, located at the center of the atrium space, connects the 3 levels and is designed to encourage frequent use, minimizing use of the public elevators. This experience of prospect and the visual connection to nature creates an open and airy atmosphere and helps create a space students are happy to spend time in. In addition to the light-filled atrium, we also added skylights on the 3rd floor, which brighten the book stacks, which in more traditional libraries can be an area that is rather dark and uninspiring. Studies show that providing exterior views and incorporating natural light into interiors contributes to not only better health, but also enhanced performance, increased concentration, and better knowledge retention.
The LLRC was designed to promote collaboration and interaction between students, student mentors, faculty, and librarians. This occurs both through planned meetings in the group study rooms and impromptu meetings in the commons. The group study rooms are provided with flat panel monitors that can be connected to a student's laptop or other wireless device, whiteboard painted walls, and acoustical privacy to allow student meetings to occur without disruption to other students. The Commons contains an open 3-story space that allows students the freedom to talk and work together. They can move about wirelessly, much of the furniture is movable, and it has become the place to be on campus.
Due to the versatile demographics of the population that would be using the space, we knew that one of the most important items we had to deliver were areas that were comfortable for a variety of learning and studying styles. While some find it easy to concentrate in open, busy areas, others require a private space with little visual or acoustic distraction. There couldn't be a one-size-fits-all approach to the furniture. The furniture we specified has the freedom of flexibility and serves multiple purposes. On the active lower levels, arrangements needed to support group learning and communal study. To encourage interaction, mobility is emphasized in the open areas, with casters on a great deal of the seating and tables, which also easily nest or stack to make moving them around easy. Users can configure the space to suit their needs in the moment without a lot of fuss. Seating areas are configured to encourage interaction, but very little is fixed, and there are lots of opportunities to plug in and power up. The group study rooms have mobile tables and chairs that can be set up to accommodate 2 to 10 people. We also specified a number of seating options with high backs, which improve acoustics and offer a greater measure of privacy. The study booth configuration seems to be particularly popular with the patrons. There is something about a booth that feels familiar and cozy, but used in this unconventional setting still feels fresh. Traditional study carrels were provided and are still a first choice for individuals looking for greater privacy.
The Commons 2.0 space configuration allows students to move freely about without loss of access to their learning tools. Much of this is not new to today's technology, but not often found in libraries constructed in the past century. Wireless connections, power and data available throughout the space and connected directly to your chair or table, direct access to a media center, and to an audio-video studio. Students can work in this environment while sipping a cup of their favorite Java from the coffee shop. The WCC students of today have the freedom most of us could only dream about back when we were attending school.
Comfortable is not the first word that comes to mind when you think of libraries of the past. Fortunately, today, the Windward Library offers comfort on a variety of levels, both physically and psychologically. Sustainable design strategies provide human comfort that cool the site and the building envelope. Grass pavers used for the fire lane leading to the building reduce the amount of unattractive, heat-absorbing hardscape. Using dark, non-reflective surfaces were completely avoided for the pedestrian walkways and roofs. They have a solar reflective index value of at least 78. Clay tile that adorns the library and several existing pitched roofs on campus have SRI values greater than 29. The light-colored tile assembled with R19 roof insulation contributed towards cooling the building interior while reducing air conditioning loads and lowering energy consumption. Natural light that enters through the 3-story atrium reduces the need for artificial lighting, and high-performance glazing provides sweeping views of the outdoors while reducing solar radiation and heat gain. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency estimates that Americans spend about 90% of their day indoors, where the air quality can be significantly worse than outside. Of the culprits that can affect indoor air quality, chemical emissions are the most harmful. Sadly, while people are conditioned to think that these odors are associated with new and clean, they have been tied to a variety of health problems, from headaches to eye irritation to more severe, long-lasting symptoms. Thus, all adhesives and sealants, paints, coatings, carpets, and flooring systems specified in the library are low or zero VOC, and composite wood products with laminating adhesives such as plywood, particle board, and door cores do not contain urea formaldehyde resins. During construction, an indoor air quality management plan was strictly enforced to reduce overall indoor air contaminants. Reducing contaminants improves comfort levels, lowers absenteeism, and increases productivity. A comprehensive green cleaning policy was implemented for the library and is the first policy of its kind on Windward campus. The policy reduces exposure of building occupants and maintenance personnel to potentially hazardous chemical, biological, and particle contaminants. More than 50% of the library's cleaning product purchases meet Green Seal 37 criteria. Janitorial paper products and trash bags meet EPA requirements, and vacuum cleaners are certified by the Carpet and Rug Institute Green Label Testing Program. Another method to achieve better indoor air quality is measuring CO2 concentrations to determine and maintain adequate outdoor air ventilation rates in the library. Elevated levels of CO2 suggest inadequate ventilation and possible buildup of indoor air pollutants. Although CO2 is not harmful alone, high concentrations in indoor environments displace oxygen and therefore can lead to headaches, dizziness, and increased heart rate. CO2 monitoring systems were installed to generate a visual alarm when CO2 levels vary by 10% from design values.
To support our goal for the library to act as a central gathering spot for the faculty, students, and community, the coffee shop and lanai were designed to be easily accessible both to the library patrons and to the surrounding campus buildings. The coffee shop and lanai offer a comfortable, bright, and lively space for intermissions at the Paliku Theater and for other campus events. The functional organization of the floors is supported by the interior materials. we use subtle changes in materials, patterns, and colors to provide silent cues to appropriate behavior and the acceptable level of noise and activity in each space. On the lower levels, colors are brighter and patterns express movement and energy. The coffee shop in particular, and the lanai directly adjacent, needed to be very communal spaces to be a comfortable place to meet and engage with other students and faculty, as well as some place to decompress and re-energize. Effervescence is the word we kept referring to as we designed the space. The colors are bright, the patterns lively, and the result is quite literally refreshing.
The three-story LLRC building form is a product of the interior functions of the facility as well as a response to the site parameters and spatial requirements. The building form responds to both the major and minor axes of the campus, the pedestrian circulation paths, and the existing topography. The sloping site allows for access on grade to both the main promenade entry level and the lower level. The top level is accessible internally through the main circulation stair in the atrium and via the elevator. The building mass steps down to follow the natural topography of the site. Thus, much of the building appears as 2 stories. The massing provides a human scale and relates to the 1- and 2-story existing buildings found on campus. Much of the lower level is below grade until it opens on the north-facing elevation to the 3-story atrium. The WCC campus is a historical district. The historical buildings were constructed between 1928 and 1935, and the more recent buildings were constructed between 1988 and 2005. One of the LLRC design concepts we followed was to honor the past and embrace the future. The existing design vocabulary that we utilized included hip roofs, articulated roof and tower forms, horizontal wall planes and column pilasters, covered arcades, colonnades and porches, arched openings, monolithic stucco walls, punched window openings, transom windows, balconies, moldings, stucco grill motifs and vents, stucco stair railings, verdigris gutter, downspout, and leader box, and several other elements that I'm sure you can find if you look in these slides. As previously stated, the LLRC is much more than a library. It does function as a traditional library and has books, periodicals, and quiet places where you can study alone. However, it is also a place where you can meet your friends and talk story, work together on a class project, stop in for a cup of coffee, make up a test you missed, take a computer class, work in the video audio studio, work in the media center on your project, meet with a peer or counselor to better understand your class content. It's a place to view rare Hawaiian collections, and if you are a teacher, you have a lounge and workroom. The site even provides a place where students can put on a small performance or have a public meeting. This area has been named the beach by the students and is located adjacent to the main entry grand stair. And all this was achieved at a construction cost below budget.
The project used the LEED rating system as framework to measure real quantifiable benefits to the environment. The library was awarded a LEED Silver rating and is the first green University of Hawaii library in the state. Ultra-low flow fixtures, pint flush toilets, and waterless urinals were specified to reduce potable water use by 30% compared to the baseline design, equating to approximately 42,000 gallons saved per year. In early conceptual studies, the 3-story atrium space was strategically oriented north to provide as much indirect light as possible. The design team analyzed the sun path 365 days of the year at the atrium space utilizing BIM technology. The model confirmed that minimal direct light entered into the atrium space. The team also derived the best location and layout of the photovoltaic panels by reviewing roof shade conditions for the summer and winter equinox. 99 PV panels are located on the flat roof area above the atrium and generate up to 26,000 kilowatt hours or 4% savings of the annual building energy costs. Induction recessed lights used in the ceiling of the atrium have a lifespan of 100,000 hours, equating to about 50 years of service. Motion and light sensors save energy by turning lights off or on, depending on room occupancy or external light conditions. 72% of all wood-based building materials, such as cabinets, wood doors, and countertops, are certified in accordance with the principles and criteria of the Forest Stewardship Council. Recycling storage and strategically located waste recycling receptacles enable the staff and students to recycle. 20% of the materials used in the building contain recycled content. Steel, aluminum, copper, and rebar are examples of materials with high percentage of post-consumer recycling content and were used extensively for the building structure. Over 75% of the construction and demolition material was diverted from Hawaii's landfills. A notable amount of construction waste management pertained to the deconstruction of the original building on site, Hale Manaleo, which was deemed unsuitable for meeting the library's current or future needs. Reuse Hawaii conducted a deconstruction feasibility survey that identified parts for reuse or recycling. It was discovered approximately 13% of the building was suitable for reuse, and another 76% of the building was suitable for recycling. Concrete walls and slabs in the existing building were recycled back into the new building. After hazardous material mitigation, the concrete was crushed into aggregate and used as subbase under the new concrete slab of the library. Of the materials identified for recycling, there is one that exemplifies sustainable education of the 21st century. Early on in the design process, Douglas fir wood decking was discovered beneath the existing building's deteriorating asphalt sheathing roof. The wood appeared marred with rusting nails and residual asphalt sheathing, but it was in fact well preserved. The design team envisioned the wood could be refurbished and incorporated as a design feature in the new library. Amshire Construction worked with Architects Hawaii to create wood patterns using a combination of plain and sawn wood. To accentuate the material as salvaged, existing holes were left unplugged and a clear coat was applied. Today, the recycled wood from the old building that once stood on the site can be appreciated at various areas of the library, including the circulation desk reception, coffee shop counter, time capsule portal between the atrium staircase and the atrium bench seating areas. Equally important to honoring the history of the site is to recognize how to improve it. Theodore Roosevelt once said, "In any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The worst thing you can do is nothing." 8 miles worth of asbestos piping was dumped on campus grounds. For 25 years, nothing was done. The pipes remained undisturbed for so long that moss and foliage started to grow around it. Eventually, even tree roots had grown in and around the piping. 25 years later, the 8 miles of asbestos piping were finally removed in its entirety.
It was very important to the faculty, staff, and students at Windward that the items from their Hawaiian collection were presented respectfully. The design team agreed that the space devoted to this collection needed to have a very different feel from the rest of the facility, to create a library within a library. To achieve this, we designed a partitioned room with its own entrance. A glass wall with traditional wood mullions and stylized organic patterns in frosted glass adorned the front. This separate entrance served 2 purposes. It created a transition that was both seen and felt. It's not only physical, but also aesthetic and emotional. It also created a sense of arrival to a space that contains items that are precious and cherished. The Hawaiian Collection Room's finishes and furniture are warmer and considerably more traditional and formal than other areas in the library, which helps convey respect and pride for the collection it houses.
As mentioned earlier, the campus is a historic district, and one of our design concepts was to honor the past and embrace the future. Located on the lower level of the atrium space is a historic wall 24 feet long and 9 feet high. It traces the history of the site beginning in the 1850s and moving to the establishment of the State Hospital in 1924, then to the U.S. military occupation during World War II, to the establishment of the Windward Community College in 1972, and then on to the present day 2010. And there is room on the wall to continue this story into the future, and it is our hope that in 10 years the students will add yet another 4-foot by 9-foot history panel. The school also requested that we provide them with a place to install a time capsule. We located this under the main atrium stair with a glass porthole and LED light for all to see over the years. This has also been done in traditional libraries, and we have continued this tradition in a new and inspiring way. Interaction and involvement of all project stakeholders is the best way to achieve desired results in a timely manner. We have been using the integrated design process for over a decade, and it has paid off again on the LLRC. This process involved a series of charrettes with WCC and UH administrators, teachers, students, library staff, maintenance personnel, architects, and engineers all working together. The result is a sustainable, award-winning project that has exceeded the expectations of all involved. It is the result of a team collaborating together, the whole much greater than the sum of its parts, the exact way 21st century education works.
questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I think it is very impressive, the capability of the design to allow collaboration and flexibility and all that. My sense is that the demand for these spaces would far exceed the ability of these spaces to serve it. So I'm interested in the logistics of the college. How do they go about as allowing different groups to use these spaces, and whether there are regular classes or regular kind of activities that are scheduled, and how is this all taking place?
They have a technology-based solution for that. It is all through a library website,
Okay.
and you can schedule via the web you can put your name on one of the little group rooms, or you need to schedule time with a tutor or whatever. And each of the rooms is numbered, and there's a little map so you know where it is. And basically, you just check it out like you check out a book.
So is it first come, first serve?
It is. Now, teachers sometimes know in advance that they're going to be having tutoring hours, and they will like set up a reoccurring, like every Tuesday, whatever.
I'm sure that there will be much more demand than
Yeah. Well, you know, amazingly, we thought that the smaller group study rooms, which can hold about, maybe it's about half the size of this room. There's several of them, about 12 or 14. We thought that they'd be, that there wouldn't be enough. But it seems like students of today are more communal learners, and they like to be out in all the hubbub. In fact, what ended up being way too small was the coffee shop. It could have been twice the size, and it still would have been full, because that's where they like to go and work on their computers, and I don't know, there's something about the hubbub that they really prefer.
One more last question. How about the time and cost of the whole project?
Yeah, I have that information. Actually, it was 2 years from digging in the dirt to, yeah. Yeah, so it was a total of 69,224 gross square footage, and it ended up being like $333 per square foot. But we saved, we were under budget by $1 million.
That was a really good idea of putting the camera.
Yeah, I think we should do that for all our projects from now on, because it's really interesting.
Very
And it's funny, because there's periods of inactivity, you're like, what's going on, what do they do? It's all interior work, you know, that you don't see. But, yeah. But yeah, those are fun to watch, yeah.
Very good.
It also goes to show you that architecture is really changing too. Right, Jeffrey?
Yes.
From the days of pencil and paper.
First McDonald's in the paper today, $65,000. Now they cost $1 million.
Well, thank you both for making the presentation, and it is a tradition of this group to give you a certificate of appreciation, and so you need to stand and
all three
recognized. Yes. It's your photograph day.
All together?
All together.
Oh, yeah.
We don't take ID pictures. Okay. We got it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
The meeting is adjourned.